This is Melissa with the StockSwoosh.com and welcome. Welcome to a trade that I looked at this morning but did not do. AVAV, this was a gap down. This is a failed bearish gap. I never took a play in it. As soon as I saw this, be off of it. Don't do it. Do not do it, is what I said. And let me explain why. First of all, I saw this last night. I said, you know what, actually this is a very damaging gap. I saw what it was doing. And then I watched it this morning and I was like, oh, I'm not crazy about this. I'm just really, really not crazy about this because it's so extended. When something starts to fall into it and then comes crashing down, it's got to set up properly for me to do it. I watched it. It could have worked. It might have worked, but it didn't work. And I never got caught in it. Why? Because there's something that I teach that I taught myself, that I created, that I made up. It's called a reverse swoosh. And this did a reverse swoosh the first 5 minutes of the day, and therefore it was untradeable on the short side, and it was going to fail in the day as a bearish gap. I will never ever buy a gap like this because you don't buy a gap that is a failed bearish gap. That is incorrect, and it's not going to work right because then you get all screwed up in your head. Should I do this? Should I buy it? Should I short it? And all of a sudden then you're trying to buy every down gap as soon as it rallies when it's really a short into the rally. So just don't go there with yourself. Get used to doing one thing extremely well and stick with that. Don't try to flip something if you see the position that you're in. In fact, here, wait, let me say this right now. When you have a bias on something, don't flip it. That is dangerous. If you're wrong, step back, take the trade off, take the position off, or if it gets stopped out, stop. Don't flip and go in the reverse direction once you realize that your trade was wrong. Okay? That's a dangerous, dangerous game to play with yourself. In fact, I'm going to make a note right now. Flipping direction. I should actually do a webinar on that. I'm actually going to do a webinar on that. Because you know what happens is you actually get to the point then where you get so screwed up in your head you're not sure what to do when stuff sets up for a play. All right? And there's many times I will take a rally into thin air on a short and get it perfectly. That if you were screwed up in your head trying to go long stuff that was a big gap down, you would end up buying, and then you get screwed up, then you miss the short, you miss the long, you'd lose money, and you wouldn't know what to do with yourself. And you'll never end up learning how to trade bearish gaps right. So just don't do it. All right? And this goes the same for longs too, all right? First of all, I said this morning that the perfect the resistance area to short this was $17, and I didn't want it to go over $17 to short it. It opened at 17 on the dot, which is a whole number, and rallied up hard. So therefore, my level of resistance turned into support the minute the stock opened. So it was a no play. It was a no play for me at that moment, plus reverse swoosh up. Boom, like this guy here. All right. Look at this green bar. Pretend this was you, and you're watching this on the day. What are you going to do with that? You're going to short that? That's a monster. You cannot short that. You short weakness, you buy strength. Okay, so there's nothing to do there. So for the several reasons, I knew it was a goner. One, it opened at a whole number and went in the direction up. Two, it opened at the number I said was a maximum resistance area that I didn't want anyone shorted if it went over 17. And three, it did a reverse swoosh. So this was no play today. No play in here all day. I told everybody, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it. In fact, one person almost was thinking about shorting. I said, please don't do it, don't. And luckily he didn't. And then you know what? It blew up. It just blew through the roof. Hold on, let me find it back here in the morning. Like right after here. Here it is. I said, no, don't. He kept wanting me to look at it. I said, no, be off of it, be off of it. No, this is, I said, right in here, this makes the play invalidated for the entire day. The gaps failed on the day. Don't do anything. Keeps making higher highs, keeps making higher highs into 10 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. The gap has to set its turn of the day by 10 a.m. If the gap isn't done what it's supposed to do by 10 a.m., you got to be off of it completely. Forget it. Okay. And the reality is that, what was I going to say? It did this then. Right after this, after people are looking to maybe short this here, and I say, no, 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 it's not going to work today. It's not going to work today. It blew up here. There's all these people trying to short in here, then they get stopped out, and it blows all the way up another $1. Look at that. $1 from there. For whatever reason, this failed in the day, and the reason why does not matter, okay? Who cares? It doesn't matter. The gap is still a terribly damaging gap. It's a terribly damaging gap. It is. But the bar looks like a monster. The dangerous thing about this is because of bars like this, people will get these things in their head that thinking gaps fill. because they'll see something like this and think it's a huge bar in the day of the gap, and they think the gaps fill themselves. They don't. This gap is not going to see back up here tomorrow, all right? And it didn't fill. The reality is sometimes gaps just fail. They just do, okay? This fell into here and fell off the planet then this morning. I think 1535 or something was a low. It was a big gap down, and for whatever reason, it just held itself at this number 17 and rallied, okay? And there was a real buying that came in this today too, where the bar wouldn't look that big. Does this gap mean that the chart now all of a sudden is in an uptrend? No. Did the gap fill itself? No. Did gap fills work as a strategy? No. It just rallied on the day. And I never shorted this. I never lost any money. This is the great thing about the specifications that I use to determine what I'm playing on the day. All right, you rate this thing in the morning, there's a chance it could work, but I know as soon as it opens, it's not going to work for all the reasons I just told you. So I never take it, I never trade it, I never lose any money in it. And I'm not buying it either because it's a bearish gap that has failed on the day. Period, end of story. All right. So this is AVAV, bearish gap down on March 6th. Failed bearish gap. That's what this is. And if you have any questions or want to learn how to trade gaps, please contact me at melissa@thestockswoosh.com. My next gap class I'm doing this weekend is March 9th and 10th. And email me at melissa@thestockswoosh.com if you're interested in more information. Thanks and have a great night.